What is up, IDP Army? It is your man, Jordan Reigns, at 50 Shades of Drunk on Twitter. You can follow the company or the brand Twitter at the IDP Army on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram. Back again. You know what it is. It's Monday. Well, you probably listen to this by Tuesday. But we're going to be talking the Week 5 waiver wire targets for IDP Fantasy Football. And we're going to be talking about some of the big takeaways and the notes from Week 4 now that is in the book. So buckle up because we got a good show for you.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Yo, welcome in, guys, gals, boys, girls. Week 5 is coming at you hot, heavy. It's coming fast. Week 4, hopefully you got some wins. Got a few wins, got a few losses. Hopefully you got some underdog money. Click the promo code down in the description of this video if you guys want to hop into Underdog. They got the Resurrection, Best Ball Mania 2 draft. They got weekly stuff. So a lot of good stuff going on. Right now, watching this Raiders-Chargers game, but we got to get the content out there for the people. We got to win these fantasy leagues. It's not enough just to play. You've got to win. Shout out P2W. If you know, you know. All right, so I guess we'll start by talking about some injuries first. Not something you really want to start talking about, but I figured we could start there. For these injuries, I'm going to be looking in the Ultimate IDP Index. Thanks to the guys over there. Shout out to Bomber for helping me maintain that through the season, but if you're not in the index, check out the Patreon. Go join the Black Ops tier. You can get on the index. But according to the index, we got some Week 4 injuries that we need to pay attention to. I'll just name a few here. We had Jabril Peppers didn't play very many snaps this week. He ended up having a hamstring injury, leaving early. That's tough. That's a tough look. It's one of my favorite IDP players. You already know Jesse Bates was out this week with the neck injury. That is going to be something to monitor going forward. Hopefully, we'll know more this week. I really think this next week is going to be indicative of how the rest of the season is going to play out for him. We have concussion. We had Antoine Winfield go into concussion protocol. This is last night during the Bucks Patriots game. So he had a nice little game going. So he got you quite a few points before he did get out of that game, but he did have concussion. Hopefully he'll be out of the concussion protocol and back into your lineups this next week. Hopefully you were playing him. Here's a pretty big one. Matt Milano left the game super early with a hamstring injury. He's been having a really great season. IDP fantasy managers know this. Bills Mafia knows this. NFL insiders know this. I know Greg Rosenthal, Mina Kimes, they're big fans of Matt Milano. So we had our 3 or 4 weeks of fun. Injuries, come up. The hamstrings hurt. Prayers up because he's having a great season. The stat I pulled last week, if you follow me on Twitter, Matt Malone had 11 impact plays through the first 3 weeks of the season. And for contrast, he had 12 all of last season. So he was pacing for a massive, massive, massive season. Really hoping this hamstring injury is a short-term thing. I have him on quite a few rosters. I'm sure a lot of you do too. So we'll be watching that closely. Other injuries to monitor. Obviously, Kenneth Murray is not playing in this Chargers game. He hurt his ankle again. The long and short of this situation is you're probably going to want to avoid Kenneth Murray for a while / the rest of the season. I hate to be that guy, but, ankle injuries, the way tendons work, the way the connective tissue works, when they get stretched, they don't go back. They're not elastic like muscles are, okay? So if a guy rolls his ankle and pulls a tendon, it loosens. What does that mean, okay? Layman's terms, that basically means that he has a higher chance of re-injury of that same ankle. It's why you always roll the same ankle. If you ever rolled your ankle, it's always the same one because it gets looser. The casing around that joint is not as strong as it once was. So Kenneth Murray, my guy, 2 years in the league, seems like you're always banged up. I'm worried, but we're going to monitor that, okay? If you watched last week's Waiver Wire show, you already know Drew Tranquill and Kaiser White are the players you want to pick up in his spot. They might come up briefly in the waiver wire segment here, but go back and check out the week 4 waiver wire video because Kenneth Murray, that injury's been around for a little bit. Other injuries we had, Hassan Reddick tweaked his hamstring, had a pretty quiet day. He had a sack every game up until this last week. So that's going to be something you're going to want to watch. Shaq Thompson went down with a lower leg injury. They're quote-unquote expected to miss some time. They have not placed him on the IR, so that's something we can hold on to, I guess. Other IDP news, we had Romeo Okwara rupture his Achilles tendon. He is done for the season. One of our favorite sleepers here at the IDP Army coming into the year. But, we trudge on. There may be a defensive line player pop up for the Detroit Lions in the coming weeks. There may be even one mentioned today that you could go check your waiver wire for. But we'll have to monitor that, okay? So obviously when there are injuries, that opens up things for other players. Not all these players that I'm going to mention in the waiver segment are here because of injury. Some of them are, some of them are not. But they're players you're going to want to watch, and they could potentially go straight into your lineup, some of these guys this upcoming week. So let's go ahead, and before we jump into the waiver wire targets, I want to break down some of the bigger games of the week, just quickly talk about them. So let's jump to the Jets, okay? Interesting week for the Jets. They got their first win, so shout out Jets. Y'all deserve it. You waited a long time for it. It came, and it was a hard-fought game. 100 defensive snaps were played by the Jets defense. They ended up eking out an overtime win over the really struggling Tennessee Titans right now. But Quintin Williams goes out, gets himself 2 sacks, gets himself a tackle for loss, 6 solos. You kind of had it, you kind of could have seen this coming in a way, especially with the tackles, because there are a lot of Jets players on this list, because Derrick Henry was going to get the rock a lot, and you knew that because A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were going to be out of this game. So a lot of things did come to fruition. Another thing that happened, again, is Ryan Tannehill got his ass sacked I think 8 times. Their offensive line is a mess. Their offense is a mess. And they made the Jets defense look great. Now, granted, again, they played a lot of snaps, but I want to bring Quintin Williams, defensive tackle extraordinaire. He's working his way up into that tier 1 defensive tackle area. I know everyone wants to put Aaron Donald in a tier of his own, but that's not a real thing. Quintin Williams and DeForest Buckner are looking like guys who can and should be in that area. Quintin Williams is just so consistent. He doesn't always pop, but he never really, really lets you down the way some defensive tackles do. So let's move on to the feel-good story of the week. His brother, Quincy Williams. Now, these two players were Quintin Williams was the number 1 defensive line player this week, actually. Number 2 was TJ Watt, of course. But the number 2 linebacker this week was his brother, Quincy Williams. They were both drafted the same year. Quincy was drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's a notorious tackle monster from 2 years ago, end of season. He played a lot of snaps for Jacksonville. Shout out to Balmer. He brought him up in the live stream on Sunday. I was saying I wasn't sure if I wanted to play him or not. That ended up being a bad call. Now, granted, a lot of people don't really roster him. Not a lot of people were starting him. But I do want to point out on Sleeper, he has defensive back eligibility. Is that fair? Yeah, it's fucking fair if you go get him. Okay? Everybody in your league is going to want him. Go put out a waiver bid for him. All right, this is one guy I'm going to tell you should go get on your team. A lot of guys I say, think about it. If you need him, blah, blah. Quincy Williams is a dog. Now, I'm not saying he's good at football because the good at football people don't really like him. Whatever. Look at these numbers. First game this guy's played in a while. Full game. 10 total tackles. 1 sack. 1 quarterback hit. 1 pass defended. And 2 tackles for loss. And that's I'm a big dog, okay? So he went out and he made his name against the big dog. They got this. They got the win. The Williams brothers are together in New York, and is this a turning point for the Jets? I don't know. For the next 6 days, Jets fans will tell you it is. So let's let them live in that moment. Let's join them in it. And if you play IDP, go out and get you Quincy. And there's a chance Quintin is on your waivers too. So check that out. And I bring up Quincy as a waiver. I want to bring him up, one, to spotlight him. Great week. He will be in the waiver segment. But he's the number 2 linebacker this week, so he got a spot early. CJ Mosley was the number 1 linebacker this week, also a Jets player, 10 total tackles, tackle for loss, a sack, and a quarterback hit. This is the 3rd week in a row, I believe, 3rd or 4th week in a row. He's had double-digit tackles. CJ Mosley is locked into your lineups as a linebacker 1, borderline linebacker 1, whatever you want to call him. That's what he is going forward. Before we said Olakun, I made a rookie mistake. I benched Olakun in the league. Number 3 linebacker on the week. It cost me. We take our licks. Got pass defended. He got a sack, 6 solos, 6 assists. I don't want to say I should have seen this coming, but Olakun has shown himself over the last year. Even this year, he deserves a starting spot in your lineup. I don't know what it is about him that always makes me think that he's one of the guys I can sit. That's a flaw on me. Like I said, it cost me this week. I think I ended up flexing Josh Allen, defensive lineman, over Olakun. That one hurt. But we move on. TJ Watt, my dude, coming off the groin injury, I was terrified that this was going to get re-aggravated. I was terrified that he was going to come out and not have a big game. I was terrified because I am a TJ Watt stan, numero uno. Okay, this guy's a beast, though. Comes out, fumble recovery, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 solos. Now, did they win this game? No. Were they ever going to win this game? No. I hate to say that, but I'm a Steelers fan, but the reality was they were never going to win this game. And if they were, it was going to be because this guy had a boss game. Maybe if we would have recovered that fumble for a touchdown, maybe they'd have won. I don't know. Big swing. But just want to let you guys know, TJ Watt is that same guy. Defensive player of the year, anybody? I mean, the guy came out after leaving a game with a groin injury. When you hear groin injury, it's usually pretty scary stuff. Guys don't come out after groin injuries and just have a number 2 week, usually. Except TJ Watt did. So, bitch, bow down. All right, Alec Ogletree. This one caught me off guard, but it really shouldn't have. He's kind of had this coming his way. The snaps have been intact since he started playing 3 weeks ago. He is the starting opposite middle linebacker of Roquan Smith. 10 total tackles, 10 solo. Okay, 12 total. Pass defended, an assist, 2 assists. And he still do some big plays. If you've read my tweets, if you follow Dave Kluge, who's an avid Bears fan, in training camp, Alec Ogletree was coming down with a lot of interceptions. Now that we've seen a few weeks of Bears play, maybe that's more indicative of the quarterback play than Alec Ogletree's play in camp. Maybe it is, maybe it didn't. But he's still out there. He's still playing a lot of snaps for a team that is offensively not great. I think the snaps will stay high. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw another 3 or 4 20-plus point games out of him this season. And again, just go check his snap counts. They're intact. He's playing most/all the snaps. So that's what you want. And he's been a prolific IDP player before. Again, if you're here for who's good at football, go to PFF. They'll tell you who's good at football. It's all color-coded and everything, okay? They got grades. That's not my world. I'm going to tell you who's going to be good at IDP fantasy. All right, Roquan Smith. Now, this dude is good at football, okay? And PFF will tell you that. 8 solos, tackle for a loss, 2 assists, 1 sack, quarterback hit, 27 points. Same as his stablemate, Alec Ogletree. You didn't have to pay up for him in drafts, but with Roquan, you have a little bit of security. Okay, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into with Roquan. A 27-point game isn't something that's kind of catching you off guard. You like to see it because you know it's in his wheelhouse fairly commonly. That sounds kind of weird. Anyway, want to show some praise there. Got a couple more players I want to highlight quickly. Eric Wilson had a big game, 10 total tackles, an interception that really helped juice that score a bit. People said it wasn't real last year. He's still the same guy. He's a playmaker. Harold Landry, one of my favorite players in the NFL. Just massively underrated the past 2-3 years for IDP. Why that is probably because his grade on PFF was not great. Well, now his grade's matching the production. His grade looks good. The production still looks good. Hopefully you bought dirt cheap 2 years ago. I remember the start of the 2019 season, noticing him and just, seeing him play so many snaps and be involved in so many plays. And he stays healthy, and he's earned the right to be in your starting lineup almost every single week. And he's got a crazy high floor for a defensive line player. And he's playing on the Titans, whose defense just is not good. He's probably their best defender at this point in time, if you can believe that. So, and then last but not least, Trevon Diggs. 5 interceptions through 4 weeks. Okay, this was my number one sleeper. This is my number one cornerback / defensive back sleeper coming into the year. Go back, check the sleeper videos. There's a playlist on the channel. The first one, I said Trevon Diggs. This guy is going to have a good year. Last year, he was doing very well. He got a little injured, and we quickly forgot about him. But I made a mental note, and I made sure coming into this year to say that Trevon Diggs could be one of those guys that could win your IDP leagues. If you listen, you've been rewarded. He is, I just checked the points earlier. He's almost a full 20 points ahead of the number 2 overall defensive back, not cornerback, defensive back. There's a corner leading all defensive backs in IDP right now in scoring. Now, granted, is it on the back of 5 interceptions? Yeah, but he got the 5 interceptions. You can't take that away from him. Will the streak end? Eventually, but he's a ball hawk. It's 100% undeniable. And he's not scared to tackle. And he's actually a good corner. So he's never going to leave the field unless he's hurt. So Trevon Diggs, I don't know what else to say. If you've watched this channel at all, you've heard his name come up a lot the past month and a half. And one other guy I want to note, I don't have his little thing up here. That's Jalen Ramsey. He has entered the don't take him out of your lineup region of fantasy season. Would it shock you to find out he's a top 10 defensive back? Top 10 defensive back. And he only has 1 interception. Okay? This guy's number 1. He's got 5 interceptions. There's another cornerback in the top 10 who's not there on the back of interceptions. Okay? Named Jalen Ramsey. IDP's it's a fun game, y'all. It's an interesting game. These defensive players, Ramsey's not traditionally someone that people say is an IDP stalwart, but if you do go back and look at his rookie season, he really was. And this year, manning up in the slot more, where he's getting more physical, getting more tackle opportunities, and still with that ball hawking acumen, I expect him to finish the season with probably 3 or 4 interceptions. Only has 1 so far. Get Jalen Ramsey in your lineups. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk the waivers, and then I'll get you all out of here because it's just that easy. So, week 5 waiver wire targets. Number 1, obviously, like I said, Quintin Williams had an amazing week. We've seen him be a number 1 linebacker. And the crazy thing, too, is one of the last time we saw Quintin Williams play IDP fantasy football, he was the number 1 linebacker. And guess what he was this week? He was the number 2 linebacker, but still close. Okay. Get him on your teams. If you want to go trade for him in Dynasty, some people messaged me today. The starting point we decided was a 3rd round pick. Some people will say, oh, give me the pick. That's great. Give me the points. I'll get the pick back in February. That's how I play fantasy. So, Jamin Davis, linebacker, Washington football team. This one is going to be one you're going to get because John Bostic tore his pectoral muscle, having an okay-ish season for John Bostic, but this opens up the floodgate for snaps for Jamin Davis, which is what IDP fantasy managers want. We want the snaps to be there, and if the snaps are there, we want to watch and see how they play. And if they play well, bing, bang, bong, we're in. That's what we want. The snaps can be there, and they play just okay. Looking at you, 2 players down, Justin Stranad. We might not be so excited to go get them. We shouldn't be. And we shouldn't settle for them either if we can get Jamin Davis or Quintin Williams, someone who has shown themselves to be objectively better for IDP fantasy. Robert Quinn. Put a lot of stock in Robert Quinn last offseason, and he burned me bad because he got hurt. And I ate it. And he's come back this year. He rose from the dead like the best ball resurrection draft. Go click the link in the description. He's risen from the dead. He's put up 4.5 sacks in 4 weeks. He looks like the Robert Quinn of 2019. Okay, a guy who was one of the top pressure getters. If you're a pressure person on just 14 games, a guy who had 10 sacks that year on an abbreviated season. Robert Quinn looks like the Robert Quinn that you want on your team and in your starting lineups. DL and linebacker eligible on Sleeper, where you should be playing. If you're playing just on MFL, I have him in a couple linebacker spots. He's Robert Quinn, and he looks healthy. I mean, the upside of those two words, any IDP person should know that that's something to be scared of if it's up against you. Just or not, if you're looking for a replacement level linebacker, this name's tough. Tyler Matakevich. He did come in and step in for Milano when he was out. I don't know if he's going to be the primary guy, and I don't know how long Milano's injury is. So I'm not saying that he's somebody you're going to want to aggressively attack, but if you need, he's available in your league. Check it out. Keep an eye on him. Malcolm Jenkins, defensive back. We went over him last week. Okay, Sean Chandler. Now, again, everybody who's watching on YouTube is seeing the graphic. If you're listening on the podcast, get on YouTube as well because there's a little extra juice over there. Sean Chandler, defensive back for Carolina. Justin Burris, the starting strong safety for Carolina Panthers, just went to IR. He will be missing significant time, at least 3 weeks, maybe longer. Chandler is his immediate backup. Got the lion's share of the snaps this last week. It was not John Franklin Myers at that position. Now, it could change, but Sean Chandler played well. I think he had 5, 6, 7 solos. So a decent game. And if you're needing a defensive back, going back on this channel, you can look back 2-3 years. We know there are certain teams that always produce good enough, playable, startable assets at their positions every week. Carolina Panthers are one of those teams with their defensive backs. They have been going back 2-3 years. Jeremy Chin, he did get robbed this week. Oh my gosh, Jeremy Chin got fucking robbed this week. You know the play I'm talking about, but good Lord, I can't even. But Sean Chandler, he's the guy you're going to want to go pick up if you're looking for a replacement level, a DB3, IDP flex guy for an upcoming week. Maybe there's somebody like Matt Milano who's a flex linebacker because you were just lucky like that and you're looking for somebody to play in your flex spot now. Maybe it's Sean Chandler for you. That's going to be an option. It's going to be on the table. Tay Crowder, as we projected last week after the Martinez ACL injury, did come in and take most of the snaps. He was their linebacker 1. So going forward, if you did get picked Tay Crowder last week, good on you. He's basically going to be playable the rest of the season. I don't know if he really offers the same upside Blake Martinez does, but I mean, even at 80% Blake Martinez, that's going to be a solid linebacker too. So you can't shake a stick at that. Alec Ogletree, I already kind of went over him. So you guys know, go check your waivers for him. He's older too, so he might be overlooked for someone like Jamin Davis, Quintin Williams. If you miss on those guys, you should be fine with Alec Ogletree. It's not as flashy, it's not as sexy, but points are points. Okay, he scored as many points as Roquan Smith this week. If I told you go pick up Roquan Smith on the waivers, you'd be like, oh hell yeah. So just use your imagination a little bit. Pretend he's somebody else. All right, Denzel Perryman, linebacker for Las Vegas Raiders. This is, of course, assuming he's healthy after this game that's happening right now, and continues to be the primary snap getter. But he has been, and he seems like the guy that Gus Bradley and the defense there has entrusted to be their primary guy. They didn't pay him the most. I don't know what's up with those other dudes, but their defense, they're playing okay. So they're riding with Perryman for the most part, and they're sticking with it. Derek Barnes, linebacker for the Detroit Lions. This is my last pickup for the week. If he's on your waiver wires, he is basically going to be one of the 2 primary linebackers for the Detroit Lions going forward the rest of the season. He's a rookie this year, so there's the allure of the upside, the unknown with him that is not there with Alex Anzalone. You could also go pick up because he's probably on your waivers because he's not a sexy name. But Derek Barnes is taking over for Jamie Collins. Not sure where Jamie Collins is going to end up. I have to believe in my heart that he will end up somewhere. But we'll have to see. It might be a week or 2 before that comes fully to fruition. So, IDP Army, that is everything for you this week as far as waiver wire targets, as far as the injury news and updates. This is not an exhaustive list of guys to go get. This is not an exhaustive podcast by any means. There's a ton of good information out there. Follow us on Twitter. Follow myself on Twitter. Follow the IDP Army on Twitter. That's the best place to interact with us. You can ask us questions there directly. We have a question here actually from the YouTube, which I'm going to pull up quickly. From Dylan Harrison. It says, Patrick Queen, Quincy Williams, or Alex Singleton, 3-point solo, 2-point assist. Tackles, sacks are 4.5, and interceptions are 4. I'm going to go Quincy Williams. If that's a start-sit question right now. I think the volume of tackles and is going to be there for him in a way it's not going to be for Patrick Queen or Alex Singleton right now. Although those guys are the names, and Patrick Queen being a premier name, not somebody I'm advocating benching or starting him over. But I mean, if a push comes to shove and projecting, I do project Quincy Williams to continue to be not necessarily as good as he was this week, but put up good numbers. Not that Patrick Queen doesn't, but sounds like you've got a good problem on your hands there, Dylan. Join us on Sunday for the live stream if you guys have start-sit questions. That is every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We go over the injuries. We go over the ins and outs. We go through start-sits with everyone on Twitter and on the YouTube channel. And sometimes we're on Twitch as well. But, yeah. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for me today. Do me a huge favor. Go subscribe to the channel because, a zillion people watch this channel, and I don't know, probably 30% of them are subscribed to the channel. So that tells me that there are more people out there interested in IDP. Want to stick around for a little bit. Do me another big favor. Thumbs up this video. Okay, you made it this far. If you're still listening to me 26 minutes in, thumbs up the video. I would super appreciate that. That would do good in the YouTube algorithm. And tell a friend. Tell a league mate. Tell a friend. Tell somebody about the IDP Army, the podcast. Share it on your feed. Share it in your group chat with your buddies. We appreciate it. We're trying to grow this thing and get IDP and fantasy football. Just keep rocking with it. So I'll be back soon later this week with the Underdogs with Dave Kluge. I will have some Underdog drafts coming up as well. I will have IDP rankings this week. I'll probably have a couple of individual player videos coming out too soon because it's that point in the season where we have some decisions to make. We have some guys letting us down. So look for some more fun, short form content maybe to be posted around in the near future. But yeah, we keep grinding. I apologize, y'all, for not having the waiver or the ranking show this last week. I've been sick. My wife's been sick. Our house has just been, we got hit with the bug. So it's been a rough week, rough weekend. I'm still hurting. I went to the doctor today. They gave me some medicine. I have to get this track laid because that's what we do. IDP Army, we fight. So, all right. That is all for me, y'all. Appreciate you. Shalom. Come back again next time. I will see you soon.
Let the rain hit the sand. Build a house on a rock, got a plan. Gotta get stocks, keep them bands. Hear the clock tick, blades on the fan. Used to be mundane on a Monday. Now you have fun day on a Sunday. Cause you switching it up and you living it up. You ain't